As the first light of dawn creeps over the horizon in the remote corners of the South Pacific, a celestial drama unfolds, one that has been choreographed by the orbits of Earth, Moon, and Sun for millions of years. Welcome to the second partial solar eclipse of 2025, a subtle yet mesmerizing event where the Moon edges in front of the Sun, nibbling at its fiery edge like a cosmic bite. This isn't a total blackout of the sky. Instead, it's a partial eclipse where the Moon's shadow, the vast, diffuse penumbra, sweeps across our planet without the darker core, the umbra, ever touching down. The result? In the right spots, up to 80% of the Sun's disk will be shrouded in shadow, turning the morning glow into an eerie half-light, with the Sun resembling a glowing crescent or a lopsided grin. This eclipse kicks off on September 21st at 5:30 p.m. Universal Time Coordinated when the Moon's outer shadow first brushes Earth's atmosphere high above the equatorial Pacific. By 7:43 p.m. Universal Time Coordinated, it reaches its grandest moment, with the greatest obscuration, 80%, unfolding over a lonely stretch of ocean just north of Antarctica near the Balleny Islands. The shadow then lingers until 9:55 p.m. Universal Time Coordinated, fading as it drifts toward the icy fringes of the continent. But because of time zones and the international dateline, what starts as a Sunday evening in Greenwich becomes a Monday morning spectacle for much of the viewing audience. About 16.6 million people across scattered islands and frozen outposts will catch a glimpse, though clear skies will be the real wild card in this watery, windy part of the world. Let's chase that shadow eastward, starting with the scattered jewels of the South Pacific Islands, where the eclipse greets early risers with the mildest of veils. In Tuvalu, that low-lying atoll nation, folks in Funafuti will see the show begin right at sunrise around 5:53 a.m. local time on September 22nd. By 6:10 a.m., the Moon will cover just 9% of the Sun, a subtle dimming like a cloud passing overhead, before wrapping up at 6:49 a.m. nearby in Tokelau Atolls. It starts at 6:32 a.m., peaks at 7:11 a.m. with a similar 9% bite, and ends by 7:53 a.m. Wallis and Futuna, a French territory, gets a touch more drama. Sunrise at 5:35 a.m. ushers in the Iki. Samoa and American Samoa, those volcanic twins straddling the dateline, sync up closely. In Apia, Samoa, it begins at 6:30 a.m., crescents to 17% at 7:17 a.m., and bows out 8:09 a.m. Pago Pago in American Samoa mirrors this almost exactly, with a 17% max at 7:18 a.m., heading west to Fiji's lush archipelago. The action intensifies. In Suva, the capital, sunrise at 5:56 a.m. coincides with the start. By 6:23 a.m., 27% of the Sun vanishes behind the Moon, ending at 7:19 a.m. Nadi and Lautoka see nearly the same, around 27% at their peaks just after dawn. Tonga, with its kingdom of coral reefs, claims one of the deeper partials here. In Nuku'alofa, it opens at 6:33 a.m., hits 32% at 7:28 a.m., the strongest in Polynesia, and lingers until 8:30 a.m. Niue, the rock of the South Pacific, tunes in at 6:32 a.m., 26% max at 7:26 a.m., done by 8:27 a.m. Further east, the eclipse softens again. French Polynesia's Tahiti in Papeete starts late, at 7:49 a.m., with a modest 8% at 8:35 a.m., wrapping up by 9:24 a.m. The Cook Islands' Rarotonga joins in at 7:38 a.m., peaking at 23% around 8:35 a.m. And don't forget outliers like Vanuatu, where Port Vila sees it from 5:30 a.m. to 6:22 a.m. with modest coverage, or New Caledonia's Noumea, a quick dawn show from 5:24 a.m. to 6:27 a.m. Now, the eclipse steals the spotlight in New Zealand, where it transforms a routine Monday sunrise into something surreal. September 22's first light carrying a hint of the otherworldly. Across the country, the partial begins around 5:41 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time. But the real magic hits as the sun crests the horizon. In Auckland, the North Island's bustling hub, expect about 60% obscuration at maximum around 6:50 a.m., the sun rising as a fat crescent that casts long, softened shadows over harbors and hills. Wellington, on the South Island's windy Cook Strait, sees similar timing, with 65% at peak. But head south to Christchurch, and it climbs to 70% just after 7 a.m., the Avon River reflecting a strangely subdued dawn. The deepest view awaits on Stewart Island, that rugged speck off the coast, 73% at maximum, turning the sunrise into a prolonged twilight glow that lasts until the end around 8:36 a.m. nationwide. If you're in the Iraqi-Mackenzie Dark Sky Reserve, high in the southern Alps, combine that 70% eclipse with crisp mountain air for a view that'll linger in your memory. A sliver of the action sneaks into Australia, but only along a narrow ribbon of the eastern seaboard. Think Norfolk Island first, where it flashes from 5:37 a.m. to 6:43 a.m. local time, with around 20% coverage at max mainland spots, like Cairns in Queensland, might catch a fleeting 10% just before 6 a.m. But it's blink and miss it for most Aussies. The shadow barely grazes the continent. Finally, the eclipse bids farewell over Antarctica, that frozen realm of endless horizons where the shadow paints the ice in deepening shades of blue. The point of greatest eclipse, 80%, falls over open water near the Balleny Islands, a volcanic chain shrouded in fog, just 10 minutes after their sunrise around 4 a.m. local. Imagine the sun emerging from the sea as little more than a sliver, the aurora's faint green echoes from winter still haunting the sky. At Italy's Zucchelli station on the Ross Sea, it's 72% at peak near 5 a.m., while New Zealand's Scott Bass hits 70%. McMurdo Station, the U.S. hub, gets 69% around dawn, the transantarctic mountains silhouetted against a half-hidden sun. Further west on the Ross Ice Shelf, coverage dips to 65%, and by the Antarctic Peninsula, home to penguin colonies and research outposts, it's a mere 12% just before sunset, around 6 p.m. local, as the shadow slips away into the Southern Ocean. What makes this eclipse whisper of wonder, even in its partial guise? It dances near the autumnal equinox, when day and night hang in perfect balance, and it's the last solar eclipse visible from mainland New Zealand until 2062. But remember, the sun's glare demands respect. Never stare without certified solar glasses or a pinhole projector, lest you trade a morning marvel for a lasting scar. So whether you're beachside in Tonga, alpine in Aoraki, or icebound in McMurdo, step outside at dawn on September 22nd. Let the moon remind us, in the vast ballet of the heavens, even a partial performance can steal your breath. Clear skies and happy eclipsing.